you have the power reducing identities, and they're not going to ask us to make it something specific. They're going to ask us to reduce the power, okay? So the first thing to know is this is how Alex is going to ask for your answer. Every single one of these will be in one of these four forms. So Alex will say, okay, which one of these is it? You choose it, and then you fill in the blanks with the appropriate numbers, okay? So the trick to these is there's fractions, and I know how everyone feels about fractions, okay? So our trick is going to be to kind of get rid of those fractions. So this says, use power-reducing formulas to rewrite sine to the fourth of 2x in terms of the first power of cosine. So I'm using the sine squared one, right? Because I know that sine to the fourth of 2x can also be written as sine squared 2x squared. Does everybody agree with that? I could also write it sine squared 2x times sine squared 2x. Doesn't matter. Okay? So now let's replace sine squared 2x with sine squared theta. Okay? So the first thing that I want to pay attention to down here is that my theta right now is 2x, correct? So that means that 2 theta will be 4x, right? So when I put this into the formula, I'm going to have 1 minus the cosine of 4x, because that's 2 theta, over 2, and I need to square it. You okay? Okay, so now I've got to square that binomial on the top. You can FOIL it. You could pull it out and make it 1 minus cosine 4x times 1 minus cosine 4x, whatever you want to do. But when I FOIL that, I'm going to have 1 minus 2 cosine 4x plus cosine squared 4x all over 4. So that's just a minus b quantity squared, right? A squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So next, we are going to have to, we want single powers of cosine, so we're going to have to get rid of this cosine squared, right? But we have that 4 on the bottom. So I find it to be much simpler if we will turn that 4 into a 1/4 over here. And make it 1 minus 2 cosine 4x plus cosine squared 4x. And I can do that, right? I'm just kind of rewriting that fraction, right? So now we need to reduce this guy, right? And so for him, we're going to use this. But let's look at theta. Right now, theta is 4x, so 2 theta will be 8x, right? Right? This theta is 4x. So 2 times 4x, 2 theta, is 8x, because we need 2 theta for our formula. All right, so we still have a 1/4 out front times 1 minus 2 cosine 4x plus, now we're going to use that formula, 1 plus cosine 8x all over 2. You okay? Okay, so now let's take that 1/4 and put it back in everywhere. So think about what's going to happen when we do that. 1/4 times 1 is 1/4, right? Minus 1/4 times 2 is 1/2 cosine 4x plus, that 1 plus and over a 2 is really a 1/2, right? 1/2 times 1/4 is 1/8 plus, then I have cosine 8x over 2 times 1/4 makes it 1/8 cosine 8x. And then the last thing I have is I have a 1/4 and a 1/8. And 1/4 plus 1/8 is 2/8 plus 1/8, which is 3/8 minus 1/2 cosine 4x plus 1/8 cosine 8x. So that's your answer. And what you would do is you see, okay, we have a constant minus cosine plus cosine, right? So I would go here and look at, it would be this top one, right? And then I would plug in my 1/8, my 1/2, my 4x, etc. Okay? So this is my answer. And so you choose the right answer format and plug it in. The hardest part really is the fractions. That's why I take it out, because it starts to look crazy if we don't take it out. And you could split up the 1/2 and the cosine 8x over 2 first if you wanted, and combine and then distribute. I just think it kind of makes another step. Let's look at another one. Now we have cosine to the 4th of 6x. So we can rewrite cosine to the 4th as cosine squared 6x squared. Again, you can also write that as cosine squared 6x times cosine squared 6x, right? Same thing. So we're going to use our first guy here, or middle guy, but we got to think about the theta, because the formula is 2 theta, right? So here, if theta is 6x, then 2 theta will be 12x. So now I'm going to put it into the formula, and I'm going to have 1 plus the cosine of 12x all over 2 squared. You can grab the handout. It's the first one against the wall over there. Everybody okay? So now we've got to square it, right? And it's a plus b quantity squared. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and put my 1/4 out front. I know 2 squared is 4. I know I'm going to pull that fraction out anyway. And so I'll have 1 plus 2 cosine 12x That's the formula sheet. There should be an actual handout that has the notes in it. Plus cosine squared 12x. Is there not one? No, it's not in that stack. It's going to be over here. Do I not have another week 9? I would just write down what we got then, and I'll have to get you one after class.
We have a week 9.
Oh, you do have a week 9?
Yeah.
Oh, well then you're good. I don't know why I thought you didn't.
I thought it was like a new one.
I don't know why I thought you didn't. All right, so now we've got to reduce this cosine squared, right? So we're still going to have our 1/4. 1 plus 2 cosine 12x plus, and then here I have a 1 plus the cosine of 24x, right, over 2. I didn't do that step, but here theta is 12x, right? So 2 theta is 24x. Then we can go ahead and distribute back in. So 1/4 times 1 is going to give me 1/4 plus 2/4, which is 1/2 cosine 12x plus, first I would have a 1/2 times a 1/4 is a 1/8 plus 1/8 cosine 24x. And then the last thing that I need to do is handle my little like term there, my constant. 1/4 and 1/8 is 2/4 and 1/8 is 1/4 and 1/8 is 2/8 and 1/8, which is 3/8 plus 1/2 cosine 12x plus 1/8 cosine 24x. And like a lot of the stuff we've been doing, your answers are going to feel real similar, right? Because those are the only things. We have a 1 plus cosine 2 theta and a 1 minus cosine 2 theta. So all of your answers are going to feel real similar, okay? That's one of the reasons they just give you those 4 options, because they know it's going to be one of those 4. All right, so what if we have 2 different things? Now we have a sine squared and a cosine squared. I'm going to point out first that theta is 3x, so 2 theta will be 6x. So for the sine, we are going to have 1 minus the cosine of 6x over 2. And for the cosine, we are going to have 1 plus the cosine of 6x all over 2. Well, that's a plus b times a minus b, correct? In the numerator, right? So I'm going to get a squared minus b squared. So I'm going to have 1 minus cosine squared 6x. And that's all going to be over 4, right? 2 times 2 is 4. So now I've still got to reduce that. All of these we're reducing to the first power of cosine. And here theta is 6x. So 2 theta is 12x. Now this one presents something interesting. because of this subtraction, so we're going to be careful here in a second. If it's okay with you, I'm also going to go ahead and move the 4 and turn it into a 1/4, just to avoid that compound fraction. So I'm going to make this 1/4 times 1 minus. Now I'm going to plug in that cosine. So it's 1 plus the cosine of 12x, right? All over 2. Are you okay? So what I want you to realize is this negative, this guy, really, if I were to distribute it, I would have the -1 minus cosine 12x, right? I have to distribute that. So when we see it, we just need to remember that this changes to a negative. So then I can multiply back in. And I'm going to have 1/4 times 1 is 1/4 minus the 1 over 2 gives me 1/2, right? 1/4 times 1/2 is 1/8. And then I also have a minus. That would be cosine 12x over 2, right? But when I distribute in that 1/4, that's 1/8 cosine 12x. And then we have a 1/4 minus 1/8 here. So that's 2/8 minus 1/8. So this one is 1/8 minus 1/8 the cosine of 12x. So that's the first one we've seen that just has 2 terms, right? The other ones had more. Questions? Are you okay with what we're doing with the fractions? Because that's really the hardest part. If you just think about that fraction, and again, you can break it up in here if you want to. You can add yourself a step and break it up. Because again, all you're typing into Alex is your answer, right? So you can break that up however you need to break it up. All right, last one. Now we have tangent squared cosine to the 4th. So remember, that's tangent squared x times cosine squared x squared, right? Or cosine squared times cosine squared. And before we start with our formulas, in this situation, theta is x. So 2 theta is 2x. All right, so tangent squared is 1 minus cosine theta over 1 plus cosine theta times 1 plus cosine theta squared. But we don't need to square it, right? Because it'll cancel, right? These guys cancel out. So now I have 1 minus cosine times 1 plus cosine, which is a difference of squares, right? So it's a minus b times a plus b, which is going to give me 1 minus cosine squared theta. Oh, 2 theta. Hate it when I do that. These are all 2x's, right? I even said it. Just didn't write it. You follow me after my mistake? I just needed that to be 2x. So now I need to reduce this guy, right? And notice we have that subtraction sign again, so we're going to have to be careful. So we are going to have 1 minus 1 plus cosine 4x over 2. Right? Because theta is 2x. So 2 theta is 4x. And so we need to be sure that we distribute this to both of these guys. So we are going to have 1 minus 1/2 minus 1/2 cosine 4x. So 1/2 minus 1/2 is, 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2 minus 1/2 cosine 4x. They are not hard, just a little tedious, right? There's just a lot of pieces to it. Questions?
Can you provide the video for this last one?
Actually, it's funny that I was recording as I was writing, because I don't think I have another video for this. But yeah, I can send it to you.